Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be breaking down Star Wars Armada from Ministravaganza. And, well, you're probably wondering, is this going to be just like 10 minutes of just absolute silence? No, we actually have some Armada takeaways. While we don't have any Armada new product revealed, there's actually a number of things Armada related that I wanted to discuss with you guys. And there is potential silver linings to some of the dark clouds that have been floating over the Armada community. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. If you guys are new here to the channel, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's going to automatically enter you to win that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. Also, check out the links in the description below. We've got links to our Discord server if you want to chat with more Armada players or learn about other games. We've got groups for X-Wing, Legion, other Star Wars games as well, and heck, even some new discussion in groups for games like Dropfleet Commander, which is one of those new games that I've been covering lately. And before you ask, no, I'm not switching from Armada to Dropfleet Commander. You can play multiple games. I'm just exploring other games too, because this seems like a good time to also learn some other games outside of my comfort zone. So that's what I am doing. So, with that being said, let's discuss Star Wars Armada, because we did get a couple of things. So first thing, we had a hunting season event, and that was for all of the Star Wars games over Ministravaganza. I didn't really talk about it very much for Legion and X-Wing because, I'll be honest with you guys, I am not a fan of the narrative events, even when they kind of coincide with a tournament, just because when I do get the chance to play, I usually want to play a standard game, and I don't usually like to play side related games or games that kind of don't reflect the way an actual game is often played. I generally prefer to play the game the way it's actually played, because this way I get to maybe learn something new about the game or try a build I haven't done before. And if I play some kind of, hey, there's special list building rules for this scenario, well then that's not really going to be it's not going to be anything that really kind of enhances my knowledge of the game or enjoyment of the game, and so I tend to shy away from those. So I did not play the hunting season event, but one of the things it did is it gave you guys some options for basically, if you wanted to have a hunter or a hunted, you could have kind of like a bounty hunter kind of thing, but you're trying to board enemy ships, and they had this boarding action where your squadrons could go on and roll some dice and see if they could kind of get the intel or get the package or something to that effect. And it looked like it was like they put some thought into this, and they even specifically, when talking during the opening ceremonies about the hunting season event, they talked about Armada the most, because they said Armada had the only one that really had a new mechanic developed for it was this hunting season event. So that shows Armada players that they first off included Armada, which was an important thing, because it would have been really telling if, hey, our special event is only for X-Wing and Legion. So it was nice that Armada was included on things that apply to all of the games, because it's still being included in that. And also, that they put some time into trying to develop a new mechanism for this scenario to make it work. So I after looking it over, it looked like it was going to be really hard for the hunters to get everything that they needed, because it would be so easy for any kind of squadron heavy fleet to just obstruct them and stop them from being able to do what they needed to do in 6 rounds. So it looks like it was, the only way you'd really be able to accomplish your mission is if you went up against a squadronless fleet, or a fleet that was very light on squadrons. And of course, if you're playing in that scenario, you're not going to bring a fleet that is very light on squadrons. So, I feel like the only way to make that work is if you just surprised some people in the middle of their tournament and said, hey, you guys are now playing this scenario. Oh, did you not bring squadrons? Well, now you're going to lose. So I don't know. I feel like if you build a list for it, it's almost it's really easy to defend against. And so that's why another reason I don't feel like it added too much to the Armada core game. But if you do play Armada a lot, and maybe if you're starting to get maybe a little bit bored, or maybe the content is beginning to grow stale for you, this could be something else that you want to check out. And the cool thing about these events is that they do leave them up. So if it's something you're into, you don't have to play it during that weekend, because it is tricky to schedule a game, especially with specific list building criteria, on literally no notice at all, because they kind of want these games all reported in by Saturday, but they also leave them up for you to play for the future. So that's the first thing I want to talk about, is that we were included in hunting season, and Armada got a little bit of a little special attention with that one. So that is something. Now, let's also talk about organized play, because this one is actually pretty significant news for tournament goers. They are not doing Worlds in 2021, and presumably not in at least the first half of 2022, just because of COVID is not kind of solved yet, and there's a lot of complications, especially with hosting an international tournament during a global pandemic. So until such time that that a miracle cure happens, and all of a sudden we don't have to worry about COVID at all anymore, there probably won't be a Worlds. Now, realistically, we'll probably always have it, but at a certain point, the risk is going to drop down to an acceptable margin, and that's probably when something like that might happen. Hopefully sooner rather than later. So go get your vaccines, wear your masks, keep that spread down, and let's make COVID kind of go away so we can have a Worlds again, is my suggestion. So, but in the meantime, Adepticon is coming up, and I believe of April of next year, and they did say that they will have a presence. AMG will be present at Adepticon, hosting organized play events for Armada, as well as X-Wing and Legion, and presumably a Marvel Crisis Protocol as well. So there's going to be a tournament at Adepticon, and AMG is going to be involved. So it's not just like some fan-run events. Like, this is an official AMG Adepticon tournament, as well as they said narrative events on top of that. So they said both competitive and narrative events will be held at Adepticon. So that's really exciting. And I know that Karnak is already kind of all over this, so it was good news for him too, because I'm pretty sure that he is going to be involved, although I don't want to speak for him exactly. I know that he had talked a little bit about it, but I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more information related to that event, specifics, as it gets closer. So if you're going to be in Chicago in April, I look into Adepticon, look into getting tickets, look into going, and bring your fleets with you, and let's get some battling going on. It won't exactly be Worlds, but it'll probably be the next best thing, right? So that's exciting. That's a big deal, and that gives us a lot of time to plan for competitive practice. Try and find out the best build between now and April, and what do we think is going to win? What faction do we think is going to win? Do you guys think Clone Wars might be able to come out on top at a big Adepticon kind of tournament? I think it's an exciting time for like competitive level play, to really have people kind of settle into what is what's going to rise to the surface now after all of these changes and all of the new upgrades with Wave 10. What's going to really work and win. So I think that's exciting. Now, onto slightly lesser big news, but still important news, is that they painted an Armada ship on one of their closing ceremony hangout streams. Will Schick was painting an Armada. I know I didn't watch all of the closing ceremony, so I had heard it from multiple people that he was painting an Armada ship, and so I think that that's kind of cool that they include Armada in a lot of times where they're painting. One day it was all X-Wing, and one day it was all MCP. And so I think it was at the end of that first day where they kind of just grabbed whatever grabbed something of their choice. And so there was Armada being painted. And so that's nice. And hopefully, they'll do more Armada painting streams, because there's a lot of Armada ships yet that have not been painted by them. I think they've only painted one on a official, like a dedicated live stream so far. So there's a lot of ships in the game, and I'd love to see, what Dallas Kemp could come up with for maybe a Superstar Destroyer to be repainted or something like that. Let's see somebody do some really fancy flames on the side of it or something cool like that. I think there's a lot of opportunity for that, and we're going to get into, towards the end what the future might hold too, because I think we've got some hints. So next big thing is something that was sort of a pet peeve of mine for a little while, and it boils down to something that Will Schick has been saying a lot lately, and talks about wanting to ensure that these games live on, and that he can, even after he retires, that he can hand them off to the next team. This was a little bit of a pet peeve of mine at first, because it seemed like he would say these all the time, even when it wasn't related to a question that he was answering. So I feel like he was saying these for a very specific reason, and I wasn't sure what that reason was, because I have a lot of theories on, was it meant to be some kind of like a signal to, like, hey, you know what, these games are, we're going to be handing off companies again, or something like that. But without getting too far down the rabbit hole on what he meant by that, I happened to be watching live when he said this, and so I was in chat, and I'm like, okay, so does that philosophy, because it was in response to, I believe, an X-Wing question. And so I said in chat, I'm like, so does that same philosophy of wanting these games, because he said he wanted these games to last, 25 years or more, and just, to really, to endure and just to last forever. And I'm like, all right, does that apply to all the games that you have? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so Armada also? And so basically yes. And so he answered this question, and he goes, yeah, absolutely. Armada too. All of these games, we want them to thrive for 25 years or more. And so that, I thought that this was actually very important, because you might just say, well, he was just, being polite in chat. But the point was, he sees all the questions before he answers them. And there's plenty of things that do get asked that they ignore. And there's also been certainly plenty of Armada questions that they have ignored, certain things that maybe they can't talk about yet. And I'm going to go where, I'm going to get to some of the stuff that I don't think they can talk about. But he had every right to just ignore that question. Maybe he thought it was trolling. And of course, I wasn't trolling. I was trying to get basically what the information that I want to get out of AMG. And when I interact on stream, which, then it's very rare that they'll actually interact with me. But when I do interact with them, the question I want to get is, what is your kind of your vision, your long-term plan with Armada? Is it so that you just want to put it on the shelf and you want to forget about it? Or is it that you're just not ready right now, right? And that's my big takeaway from this weekend is, I think we're steering towards we're just not ready right now, right? And and that's fine. They did just get a whole lot of stuff dumped on them, but with that announcement that they dropped a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have that same level of like, oh, they're just not ready right now. I kind of was afraid of, oh, they just want to throw it away and ignore it, because it was kind of so open-ended, and the fact that it was just delivered via text, it didn't give some of the assurances that maybe a verbally delivered speech or some where we missed out on some of the human aspect of that. So I got some more of the human aspect and a little bit of reassurances with the overall inclusion of Armada in this year, or in this, I don't know, half's Ministravaganza. So I thought that was a little bit reassuring, and so I think that says a lot, because even a little bit of reassurance means a lot right now. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't schedule any Armada panels, and they could have had a panel for Armada, like painting a Star Destroyer or doing something like that, and I think that would have been a great idea. And I think the reason they didn't is because they have product coming out for Marvel Crisis Protocol, X-Wing, and Legion. And so it's probably more advantageous for them to promote the games right now that have new product coming out. They probably already had to make the tough call to say, hey, let's put Armada on hold for right now, at least new product development on hold right now. And so they probably already have a lot of people that were already afraid. And I have seen a lot of people that are very, very shaken by some of the decisions that were made. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment as well. So I think they were really just trying to please everybody else as much as possible, cutting their losses. Like, look, the Armada people already know they're not getting anything, so hopefully, we can kind of cut our losses there. But either way, they still included Armada, and I thought that was important. And speaking of the other games having some kind of shaken decisions, it makes me ask the question, are we sure we really want them developing new Armada content right now? And there's a couple of reasons I asked that. Part of it is a little bit snarky, right? I'll admit there's a little snark in here, because some of these games got a little bit of questionable decision making, and so I'll talk about that. X-Wing had probably some of the biggest shakeups. like X-Wing, they threw out their support for their existing list builder that they have, like, and that's a part of X-Wing 2.0 was the list builder. They said, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. List builder is going away. You can just use the community ones. And while I understand that, it's still interesting to hear them say that. But another big thing was they said they're getting rid of bids. So you're no longer going to really be able to bid for first player anymore. You're actually now, or bid for initiative rather. You're gonna just randomize it, and like so that's a pretty significant change to the game. And there were other significant changes, and not just changes to the game rules, like a 12-round limit, which was really frightening to some people at the beginning when they announced the 12-round limit. Only then the next day, I think that they clarified, oh well, that's not for tournament play. That's only for kitchen table play. I'm like, well, I don't think kitchen table play is really the concern. I almost feel like they doubled back on that. Like they saw the outrage of a 12-round limit and they changed their mind. Like, oh, we didn't mean for tournaments. No, we meant just for I feel like that's kind of what they did, but either way, that's fine. But my point is that there was a lot of shakeups in X-Wing. And then Legion had less shakeups. Legion had a lot more good news, because there's still a lot of FFG created stuff that's still on the pipe. And then they also teased some of the AMG stuff that they're working on. It's very cool. You are getting tactical rocks on the AMG stuff, though, so we're going to really be able to mark the line where it's like, this was FFG and this is where AMG took over. Notice the rocks on every single figure's base. That's my prediction. Based on the one that we did see, that definitely has a giant tactical rock on there. So it seems like that's going to be a thing. But Legion also got a little bit of a shakeup with that they're doing like an errata to a lot of the early content. And while this is kind of cool, like Darth Vader is getting a ton of changes, and he's the only character that they talked about. We don't know how many other characters, but most of the stuff that they're targeting with this big errata push is mostly going to be characters from the Galactic Civil War, kind of early characters. A lot of stuff that was in the game from the beginning for the first couple of waves. And so that's interesting, but if you look at what they're doing to Vader, okay, so Darth Vader's about to get really, really, really strong because there's a new Force upgrade called Burst of Speed that's going to make him go from Speed 1 to Speed 3, potentially twice, even in one turn, depending on which command cards you play. Like, it's already going to turn him into a potential monster. And I personally already really like Darth Vader in Legion as is. But he's about to become a monster in Legion. And the stuff that they're giving him two new things. They're giving him a whole new upgrade slot. That's a really good upgrade slot. And they're giving him an ability to compel core units, which lets them basically ignore suppression completely. It virtually lets his entire army ignore suppression. And that's a core function of that game. So, and I'm summarizing because it's not as cut and dry as that specifically, but that's kind of the takeaway, because you can certainly play it that way. My point is, there's some pretty interesting shakeups that are happening with their games. There's even big shakeups happening with Marvel Crisis Protocol right now. They just announced this Spider-Man and Doc Ock alternate set. You get these cool holographic cards that are going to come with that. Oh, and that's cool. Oh, and by the way, they're erratating like I think 63 of the first 100 characters for that game, are all being changed. And they're not only are they changing like some of their core abilities and reworking some of the characters, like Hulk, for example. They're also changing them from being long cards to sideways cards with a new art format and everything. So, hey, that holographic card that you just pre-ordered, it's already obsolete. So that's weird to me. But obsolete in that. I mean, I don't know specifically if Spider-Man and Doc Ock are getting changed, but it won't be the same format, because they're the long ones, and they're going to be, basically now they're going to make free PDFs that you can download, and print out your own cards, and then I think they'll have a card pack next year or something like that. But it's a big shakeup, and so I'm like, well, you know what? Armada is in a good place. It's just got some new waves. It could use like one more wave to kind of round out the Clone Wars a little bit more, but it's a solid game, and I don't think it needs the shakeup right now. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise that Armada gets like AMG, give AMG like a year or two potentially to settle, and maybe by that time they'll be able to have most of the ideas like. Look, they're new to a lot of this. There's probably going to be some good ideas and some bad ideas. Throw meatballs at the wall, see which ones stick, see which ones fall down, and maybe we'll benefit from the wisdom and lessons learned that happen over the next 2 years. And so when they do pick up the reins and start working on Armada stuff, we'll have the benefit of like, hey, you know what? All these other games that they had some wins and some losses with, will be able to have a lot of hindsight being 2020 right there. So that is kind of a good takeaway as well, because it looks like, hey, they're not forgetting us. We're just on hold right now, and that's fine because we got a lot of new content. We got a lot of stuff to play. We got a big Adepticon tournament coming up in less than a year. And then after that, man, maybe we'll start out playing some more 600-point games. Maybe we'll play some more team games. Maybe, work on some alternate formats, or just go back to the classic game. There's a lot of things that we can do to hold us over until some more news comes out. Hopefully that'll be soon, because what is the future going to hold? Well, I have a hint for you. And this is my hint. They talked a little bit about the future of some of these other games, like with Star Wars Legion having a big event in 2023, because 2023 is the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary, right? And so they're trying to do a big event in 2023, and they announced Ewoks for Star Wars Legion, and in 2023 for the Return of the Jedi anniversary. Well, that's pretty cool. Ewoks were a pretty big deal in Return of the Jedi. Maybe we'll even see the Hutts hit Star Wars Legion too. But for Star Wars Armada, Return of the Jedi was a pretty significant film, right? We had that ultimate epic space battle that largely informed the game of Armada, right? I think Armada really kind of revolves around two movies, and it's the third movie in each of those trilogies, right? It's Episode 3 and Episode 6, and Episode 6 gets most of the credit. It's the granddaddy of the big Star Wars epic naval space battle, and of course, we give super cool points to Rogue One, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention how awesome Rogue One was, especially that space battle. But still, Return of the Jedi was the granddaddy of them all for the big space battles. Love it, love it, love it. We'll always love it. And then Episode 3, had started off with a really cool space battle. Also, and Clone Wars had a lot of cool space battles, but Return of the Jedi was pretty cool. How much you want to bet? That's a perfect time for them to be like, okay, I bet you we'll have some good news by 2022 or early 2023 related to Armada, to kind of coincide with the Return of the Jedi anniversary. And it's just a really good time. And by that, it just syncs up with everything. They should have everything kind of balanced, and the gears all kind of oiled up, and the machine should be functioning enough that they should be ready to tackle their greatest game and one of the greatest Star Wars movies of all time, and my personal favorite, Return of the Jedi. So that's my prediction for 2023. I think that's when we're going to see our next new Armada content. Big Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary stuff. So let me know some of your thoughts. Do you think that I'm onto something with this Return of the Jedi wave? I'm calling it a Return of the Jedi wave. I know nothing, right? And that's so far out. But that's my prediction. I think we'll get some kind of special Return of the Jedi release, whether it's a whole wave or a campaign pack. You could definitely do an Assault on the Death Star event that they could do to coordinate with that. There's a lot of really cool things they could do. They could do some alternate ships. Like there's so many things. I mean, I think it's a perfect opportunity to bring the Dornian gunship into the game. There's plenty more that we can do, but a lot of events to bring Armada into the focus. If you want to have all these ships that are reprinted and new people getting into the game, and you want to be like, hey, look at the home one, hey, look at the Super Star Destroyer, hey, look at the Interdictor, because yes, there was an Interdictor present, right? So there's so many awesome things to do, and so many reasons that really make sense to really promote Armada for 2023. So we might see some news in 2022 about their plans. And I think they would be overjoyed to finally be able to say, after, a year and a half or so of anticipation, all right, guys, good news. we have some Armada stuff in the works, you know, and so I'm really looking forward to when that time comes. But in the meantime, we're going to be doing lots more Armada coverage. I have a tournament report up right now for our patrons, so that will be coming live to you guys in the future. And there will be lots more Armada, fleet analyses, builds, battle reports, and heck, more, fleet photos on Instagram, all the social media stuff. So if you want to check any of that stuff out, check the links in the description below, and other fleet-based games too. Because like I said, I've been doing some drop fleet commander stuff lately, so I'm getting into that too. That looks pretty fun. It's a little bit slightly different, but still scratching that fleet junkie itch. And there will definitely be more to come as it becomes available. Stay tuned. FFG is going to be making some announcements soon. I think there might be some stuff because they still can make Star Wars things too. So hopefully we'll see some new things out of Fantasy Flight games and maybe even elsewhere. We got a lot of Star Wars video games getting announced to coming out soon too. So there's lots of really cool stuff to cover. It's getting exciting. It's getting real exciting. All right, guys, I'm going to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are awesome. So you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much for your continued support. I will talk to you all soon. Make sure to keep a fire extinguisher in the kitchen just in case you set the bacon on fire and it jumps into your head and then you have to shoot yourself in the face with a fire extinguisher. But get your hair put out because you put too much hairspray in there and now all of a sudden, oh no, you just jump in the pool. Jump in the pool. You're going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Have a great day.